Okay, folks, happy Wednesday. Okay, looking at some types of numbers or types of number in this question, okay, on this video lesson. Specifically, yeah, looking at rational and irrational numbers, okay? So, very important yet as you know for GCSE maths and even beyond. It says, consider the numbers below. We got pi, the square root of 144, the square root of 81, 0, the square root of -2, and the square root of 1,000. It says write down the numbers which are rational. So a rational number is either a whole number or can be expressed as a single fraction, okay, a over b, where a and b are integers, okay, just to be clear. Okay, so they belong to the set, okay, of the integers, okay, being a whole number. So either give us whole number answers or can be expressed as fractions. Is pi rational? No, it's not. Is the square root of 144? Well, yes, it is, because the square root of 144 gives us 12. Okay, so it is rational. The square root of 81 is also rational because the square root of 81 is equal to 9. 0 is rational because it's a whole number. Okay, the square root of -2, nope, that's not even real actually, so that's going to be discarded completely. And the square root of 1,000, nope, it's not. So numbers which are rational in this case is the square root of 144, the square root of 81, guys, and 0. Because they either give me whole number answers or I can express them as a fraction or a terminating decimal, okay? Although, just be clear, yeah, some decimals here that are rational here can also be reoccurring, so bear that in mind. So, for example, 1/3, okay, 1/9, 1/6, 1/7. Okay, so watch out for those, okay? So, yeah. Okay, next up, write down the numbers which are irrational. So, irrational is when we cannot express it as a fraction or a whole number, so we cannot express it as a over b or a whole number. So this is just, yeah, the notation here for integers, okay? So pi is irrational, okay? Again, if you're not sure, yeah, plug it into your calculator if you're not sure, you're not convinced. Is that 3.141, okay, 592, etc., okay, goes on and on forever, and there's no, yeah, like repetition of digits or patterns, so pi is irrational, and I can't get around it by writing it as pi over 1, because pi itself is irrational, okay, so I can't get around that. Okay, what about the others? Well, let's have a look here, root 1,000, so root 1,000 is irrational, because it is actually a surd, and it's so good that I can actually simplify it if I want to simplify it. So root 1,000, if you're wondering, I can write it as root 100 multiplied by root 10. And root 100 is of course 10, so we have 10 times root 10, which is 10 lots of root 10. But because root 10 here is obviously a surd, that makes root 1,000 also irrational and a surd, okay? What about the square root of -2? So the square root of -2, guys, is not even like a real number, okay? Because we cannot square root a negative. Again, I don't want to go into much more obviously detail, obviously beyond GCSE, but yeah, if you're going to study A level further maths here, you will learn that we start looking at what we call complex and imaginary roots and imaginary numbers, okay? And we denote I to be the square root of -1. Okay, but that is obviously beyond the scope of the video. But the square root of -2 here is neither rational or irrational because I can't even, yeah, like I can't even get a whole like a answer out of it. Okay, if I type it into my calculator, I'll get math error, rightly so. Okay, because I can't think of a number or numbers that multiply together by itself to give -2. Because if you square a negative, you get a positive, and if you square a positive, you get a positive. So there's no way on earth I can get the square root of -2. Okay, but again, if you cover this more, yeah, in L over the maths here, okay, I can split this up into root -1 times root 2, and root -1 here we denote that as I, so we have I lots of root 2 or root 2I. Okay. yeah, bear that in mind. But yeah, that is actually neither rational nor is it irrational, okay? Because I don't even get an answer out of it because you cannot square root a negative number, okay? Just to be clear, so you're not actually confused here, you can have minus root 2, for example. That is allowed and that is irrational, but you can't have the square root of minus 2, okay? If you don't believe me here, if you plug it into your calculator, if you type in minus root 2 and then press execute and then press format and then obviously decimalize it, you get minus 1.41 whatever 42 etc. If you type in the square root of minus 2, press execute, it says math error, okay, big triangle, okay, saying error, then it says back, okay. So yeah, bear that in mind. But that is looking at types of number or numbers for GCSE maths. Okay, so just to recap, a rational number is a whole number or can be expressed as a fraction a over b, where a and b are integers. An irrational number is a number that cannot be expressed as a fraction. Okay, so yeah, so such as pi or a surd, okay, root 2, root 3, root 5, root 7, root 6, root 8, etc. Okay, but yeah, okay, so they're obviously not square numbers. Okay, we obviously can extend the end to like cube numbers here and fourth root of numbers, but yeah, we mainly focus here on roots, okay, in GCSE maths, square roots here specifically. Okay, but yeah, okay, that is working with rational and irrational numbers. Okay, thank you very much.